In today's video, we're gonna fly into a spectacularly dangerous airport. The name, I believe it is pronounced Toncontin, is an airport that belongs to Tegucigalpa, the capital city of Honduras, located in Central America. The airport sits in a valley separated by a river called the Choluteca. The entire place is surrounded by high volcanic mountains on all sides, barely room for a runway, and it has to share all that space with a massive city. You get a little bit of flat ground to the north, kind of where the river is, but the mountains on both sides go up to somewhere between 5,000 to 7,500 feet. The highest peak is to the northeast at 7,606 feet within just 10 miles. There's no room on the south side, is all just a wall of mountains. Highest peak is about 6,500 feet to the southeast. Now, the preferred runway for landing and departure, runway 2, has an elevation of 3,300 feet and only 6,500 feet long, with no runoff areas. On one end is a road and a bunch of trees. The other end is the face of a small cliff. There is no ILS. There is no room to put them down. You get a single VOR on top of a mountain to the south, and that's it. And check this out. Here's the official instrument approach to the preferred landing runway. The 1. This is it. This is all you've got. There's no straight end. This is as straight as a big left-hand circle shaving the inside of a wall of mountains. And if that's not exciting enough for you, in the last 2.5 miles, at a 104-degree visual left-hand turn, just to spice things up a little bit before you have to put the wheels down. And keep in mind, the very famous Kai-Tak last turn was only 47 degrees. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about what we're dealing with, let's try this approach in our trusty PMDG 737-700. We'll see how it goes. I hope we don't die. We're going to start with setting auto brake to max, and we're going to turn on some landing lights, igniters to keep the flame in the can, stow the brakes, and we're going to grab the VREF. So doing flap 30 today at 132, which is pretty reasonable. So as you can see, we're about 5 miles till the beginning of our transition, which is Melville, since we're coming in from the north. And Melville is located just about where the Choluteca River Valley begins to lead into the city. So if you look outside, you can kind of see it. It's the only corridor that has sufficient terrain clearance for the aircraft to come out of the valley, which is why the go-around procedure follows the exact contour of that passage. So if I just kind of zoom in here, you can sort of see the city already. Alright, we're just about reaching Melville. The constraint is 9,000 feet above, so we're still got a little ways to go on this approach. Looking at so we're the VNAV still suggests 250, but since we're managing the speed ourselves, I'd like to keep it just a little bit slower on these kind of iffy approaches, and especially due to the fact that we are flying the version with the split winglet, so not sure if that's going to give us problems slowing down while we're on a steeper descent. So I guess we'll see what happens. So it is a little bit steeper than usual, 3.5 degrees. Alright, so the VNAV pathing is starting to dip down a little bit steeper, so I'm just going to use a little bit of spoiler to kind of keep the speed in check, making sure that we're not speeding up on the way down. Just about to pass 9,000 feet. We're looking pretty good. Let's put the brakes back in and look outside for a little bit, and you can kind of see the valley, the basin where we're supposed to kind of carve in on the right hand side. So that entire wall of mountain, we're supposed to stay within that. Okay. Well, actually, I don't want that. So I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit and use about 10 miles on our navigation display. And we are passing the decel little green drag circle on the navigation display. So I'm gonna slow us down to about, say, to about 210 for now. And we've still got about, let's see, 2.5 miles to go before the final approach fix. I believe that is the, the TG015. So something about a speed constraint on this in the nav data is a little strange. Kept on suggesting 250 knots. So we can just clear that. If you look outside, you can see the left hand side, that little opening in the valley. We're going to be dipping down, and following that, it's going to lead us to the city. Okay, this is where things are going to start happening pretty fast. So we're going to begin our final approach. So this first left hand turn, we're going to stay on the autopilot, and this will take us around and into the valley. So let's start adding some flaps. So we're going to go flap 1 and monitoring the speed. Start dialing down towards flap 1 speed. And as we're slowing down, you can see that we're now starting to make the entry into the basin of Tegucigalpa. And you can see that we're going to stay on the left of that wall of mountain on the right. And now we're just going to stay on the autopilot and let the autopilot do the first curve between waypoint 15 all the way down to 12. And after 12, we have a straight section which leads us to the very last left-hand turn. And that turn we'll have to fly by hand, since the curvature of that leg is not described in the procedure. So we're about 6 miles, so let's go gear down.
2500.
Okay, we are approaching the end of the first curved section at waypoint 12, and just about to turn onto the straight section. As you can see, we're going down pretty steep at 1300 feet per minute and at 3.5 degrees, so we probably need a little bit of spoiler here just to add some more drag to kind of help us slow down. Doing flap 15, and so we only got about 2.5 miles left before that last left-hand turn. So now we're going to go flap 30 and manual flight. Start adding some power back in so that we don't blow through the bottom of our approach speed on the speed tape. We are just a tad high, so we're gonna descend through the now is the minimum, and we're gonna commit to our descent to this approach. So you can see there's a highway coming up on the left, and we're gonna stay between that and the mountains on the right. Oh yeah, right. We're gonna have to turn that off, otherwise it's just gonna keep going since we're flying so close to the terrain. So here we go. We are gonna start the turn right about here. Just gently start rolling into it.
500.
And keep in mind you don't want to end up too high, so just keep descending and follow the contour of the mountain and stay on the right hand side of the highway. It's gonna feel really low, but that's how it's supposed to be. There we go, just get really close to these trees. The plane is probably gonna throw some warnings, but
Sink rate.
yeah, here we go.
Sink rate.
Yeah, you can ignore those, and that's okay. Now we're just gonna aim right at those big markers and try to put it right on the dot.
50, 40, 30, 20,
There we go.
10.
Step on the brakes. Decel 60. All right. That's how you do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tegucigalpa. The local time is, I think, is UTC -6, so it's almost noon. So as we're taxiing into the ramp, let's take a look at the landing from the outside. Now, you might have noticed something interesting from the external view, that even though from the inside it felt like we came down pretty fast with very little flare, but if you look from the outside, the landing gear doesn't feel like it has received a whole lot of impact. And there's a very good reason for that. The runway 2 has a downward slope, and because of that, the angle of impact on the landing gear is very shallow. So even with a higher rate of descent, the ground doesn't smack you back into the air. And in fact, you do have to pay attention not to flare too much, because if you do end up killing your rate of descent, there is a chance that the runway could end up just keep on falling away from you and cause you to either have to go around or end up in the trees. So yeah, let me know in the comment section whether if you got a chance to try this approach yourself, and what your experiences are, and maybe even try it on some different airframes and see how they fit into this airport. Personally, I've tried it in the 777. Yeah, the 777 can actually land here if if you're light enough. But problem is you just don't quite have enough room to taxi afterwards, because the fences on the other end of the runway is actually pretty narrow. So I just find myself kind of stuck and not be able to turn around because of the wingspan. So yeah, realistically, you probably don't want to use anything bigger than a 7.3 to shoot this approach. I've seen the American airline doing it on the 757, but we don't have one in the sim yet. So at the moment, I feel like the 7.3 is pretty much the best airplane for the job. I hope you've had fun with this approach, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.